What's up, A to Z Sports here live on a Wednesday. Titans are all back on the practice field. Easton Freeze is down there at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park, and we'll have coverage from Easton and Buck on our social media. But here we're talking today about a topic that organically showed up on Monday because of all the reports and the conversation about how bad Sunday's practice was for the Titans, and people already out and already calling for Brian Callahan and expecting Brian Callahan to be fired at some point because of this season. So we thought we'd have a show of like, okay, let's talk about it. What will and what won't to get Brian Callahan fired and go through the reality of the head coach's job security as we approach the first preseason game of the 2025 campaign. We've also got a press conference from Callahan that just happened about a few minutes ago, touching on some notes that we'll discuss. And then we'll talk about the new signings that were made yesterday as well, what they mean and what they don't mean, and some other housekeeping notes as they get ready for the Bucs joint practice tomorrow, and then the game on Saturday against the Bucs as well in Tampa. But before we dive into all this and we end with sports trivia, JT, you got something to tell everybody what they got to do. We have housekeeping. They have housekeeping to do before we
exactly. And you know what? Shame on me for being woefully prepared. I totally forgot we had sports trivia today, so that's going to be fun.
There's nothing to train for.
I guess that's fair.
Whatever the draw is on the website, that's how it is.
This is true. But good morning, A to Z crew. It's good to see you guys in here today. We are on the eve of the Titans' first away camp. They're traveling tomorrow to face the Bucs. Should be an exciting time, but we are here today talking about Brian Callahan and his future and the outcomes that could happen based on events. But before we do that, need a couple things from you guys. Make sure you are liking the show. Helps us out a lot more than you guys think. Hit that like button, and while you're down there, might as well just make sure you are subscribed. Make sure there is a D at the end of that subscribe button. And we'll get into the show today. Should be a good one.
Yep, let's get going officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports here live on a Wednesday. I'm Austin Stanley. He is JT Runke. We are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. You got to thank our sponsors. They make it happen for us, and they help out all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai. WilsonCountyHyundai.com is where to go to make them a part of your new car buying process. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, their region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care, and the Barton Drury Insurance Group, customized solutions for all of your insurance needs. They are local to the area, they are experts, and they are online at bartondrury.com. So we will discuss the Brian Callahan, what will and what won't get him fired discussion in the show. But we do have some housekeeping things to get to because the Titans back on the practice field today. They had 2 off days, Monday and Tuesday off from the media, at least. They were still there doing training camp off-field stuff. But we saw a couple clunky practices, 5 padded practices in 6 days before the 2 off days. They're back on the field today. 2 signings were made yesterday, 2 safeties, Bledsoe and Quandre Diggs. It seems like from what I've heard and from what Easton's heard is the Quandre Diggs thing. This has kind of been the plan is to let Quandre Diggs join the team. Cam Ward's cousin, who was a part of the Titans team last year, played really good football before getting hurt. He is back. And I think something that's related is that you would think, okay, the Titans signed 2 safeties on the same day. They waived a safety, but they signed 2. That seems interesting. And then Kevin Winston Jr. is not practicing today. The rookie 3rd-round pick out of Penn State, who's coming back from a knee injury, the ACL, from about 11 months ago. Those things, I don't think, JT, are related. I think Kevin Winston Jr. is following a plan of returning to practice from his ACL recovery. And I think Quandre Diggs was already there, was already going to happen. And I think the Bledsoe signing at safety is just the normal churning of the roster. What do you think about that particular situation before we get going here?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it is a good signing for the Titans to bring him back. He for the better part of last season, even when we were talking about him last season, was a veteran up there in age, but was an integral part of the Titans run defense, right? You look at when he went down in the season and then what happened after that, the Titans got ran all over for the rest of the season. And you kind of were missing him in that fold of the defense. So I think it's a no-brainer. I also, heard along the grapevine that this was probably going to happen, that it was kind of, not only is he Cam Ward's cousin, so you can make the jokes that maybe this was a nepotism hire. This was a, bringing him back into the fold, part of the family here. But also he just like kept tweeting about the Titans and things all offseason to be like, this guy feels like he's still part of the team here. And so, just that thought was in the back of my mind. I agree with you that if there was anything, the move for safety, because I believe the safety that they did end up waiving yesterday or releasing was Mark Perry, if I'm not mistaken. So the Bledsoe for Mark Perry move, I think, is more that's the move. That's Borgonzi once again kind of churning the roster the same way they did with, waiving Devontae O'Malley and bringing in the guy from the Memphis Showboats in the UFL. His name is escaping me already, but like that's the move.
Bronson?
Brunson, I think, is something like that. But that's the corresponding move. Bringing Quandre Diggs back, I think, has no indication on how good or bad that safety room is. I think it's just, hey, it's an opportunity. He finally is back and feeling better after that injury. He said he was 100%, but he probably still needed a little bit of time before he signed somewhere and started getting back into pads. And I think this was the moment where he was like, I'm ready, I'm good to go. At least it's another voice in that room that is going to be helpful. Another guy who can sub in on some packages and be helpful in the run game specifically. But, he's going to be your safety 4 or 5 on this team. I don't think he kind of elevates anywhere above Kevin Winston Jr. And to that point, yes, he's not practicing today. And I saw somebody in the comments here, as we go through our housekeeping things, say how we feel, or this is Montrell. He says how we feel about Kevin Winston Jr. sitting out of practice after leaving early last practice. Once again, I think it's nothing more than an injury management thing. I think the question that you need to ask is, if you're concerned about it, would you rather have him practicing today where they most likely are going to be a little lighter and do like a little bit of more of a walkthrough thing before they get on the road? Or would you rather have him practice against a different team tomorrow? Like, I think that's the two options. And so if you want him to practice tomorrow, I think you have to be okay with him still managing that injury as he comes back today.
And also something that I've heard too is that the leaving practice early on Sunday was the plan before practice started on Sunday for Kevin Winston Jr. That was day 5 of 6, day 6 of 5 days in padded pads for practice. And so they did plan to have him exit early before that began. So this is part of that. And I think, JT, you put it well. It's like, you want him out there against Tampa. Like go get that test, not just another practice against the same guys. So I do think it is a good thing. I like the Diggs signing. I think it makes sense. And I like Kevin Winston Jr. Another thing that was mentioned is that the starters are going to play against the Bucs, and they're going to play in all 3 preseason games. How much? That's what's to be determined still. But we will have plenty of time to discuss how much Cam Ward should play, how much the starters should play, maybe Thursday, maybe Friday on the show before we officially get games going here. Ooh, exciting. Games get going. So let's go ahead and get to the bulk of it, because I kind of like halfway got frustrated. No, I got all the way frustrated on Monday because of the reaction to the bad practice that the fan base had. And so it was on our show. And then I felt the need to tweet about it. Stupid. Just don't tweet. And it would have been fine because I had to spend more time going through replies than I needed to. But after the Monday show, Titans fans using bad training camp practices to feed their narrative on Brian Callahan being a bad coach got to stop. Quit viewing practices as games. You're missing the point of practice. This isn't a pro Callahan take either. It's a use practices to attack your weaknesses take. So I still stand by that very fully. And again, you might think Brian Callahan's a bad coach. You might think he's a good coach. I don't know. I don't care. But saying the Titans had a bad practice and using that as a a feather in your cap that he's a bad coach and he's going to get fired is not correct. And Vanessa says practice like it's a game. Vanessa, different things. Yes, practice hard, but we should not be viewing the results of a practice like a game. That is I don't know if you missed Monday's show, but on Monday, the whole point was they blitzed all night. They did remember the Titans, don't let them gain another yard. For 12 straight plays, Cam Ward faced 0 blitz looks, bring it or bluff it on third downs for 12 straight plays. That doesn't happen in a real football game. So you cannot judge Cam Ward's pass completion percentage in 12 straight 0 blitz third down plays to what a normal game completion percentage is going to look like, because it's different. And so, Vanessa, you say disagree, you're only getting better, do your best. You're not understanding what the point is. Like, this is the frustration. So, again, I don't care what people think about Callahan. We're about to find out and get where people are at. But let's hear from Brian Callahan on what his reaction. He was asked this morning about the uncharacteristic reaction that he had where he was cussing out his offense after practice on Sundays. Here's Brian Callahan from this morning's press conference.
Had an uncharacteristic blow up after the last practice. Was that just frustration mounting because of the offensive struggles, or just something to give the offense a spark?
Yeah, I think that's probably accurate. Probably more so than anything else is a chance to teachable moment. There's adversity that you're going to face during the course of a season. For us, we had 5 out of 6 days in pads. It was hard. Guys were tired, and it came down to the last period, and it really was just the last period of practice that I just wanted to see a different response in the moment, and it was a good chance to point it out and talk about what we need in the future. And I think just going through that moment allows you to grow from it. So it was a really, I think, teachable moment at the end of the day, and uncharacteristic. You guys don't see me every day all the time, but sometimes you gotta turn it up a little bit.
What kind of feedback did you get from that, Brian? The players said anything to you about that?
Yeah, I think all of them recognized what we were looking for, especially from an offensive execution perspective in that moment, and they know exactly what it is, and I don't think any of them were surprised by it, and I don't think anybody would have expected any less, to be honest, because we hold ourselves to a higher standard, and we needed to perform better in the moment. And the good thing is it's August 4th or 5th or whatever day it was, and we got a lot of work still to go, and it was a good moment for us. I think it was necessary.
So there's Brian Callahan, a good moment. So I want to do this before JT lets you react to what Callahan said there. I'm going to put up a YouTube poll. I just want to know right now. I want to know the percentages of fans that are either in or out on Brian Callahan right now, like before this season even starts. Are you in or out on Brian Callahan? Because I feel like there are way more people that are out on him and that are not even giving him opportunities. But JT, I'll let you react to some of what Callahan said there and just the overall topic here.
Yeah, I think the thing in that entire clip that stood out to me the most is that we, as people in sports media covering this team, obviously have a unique position to be out there a lot more than fans ever get to be out there and see even more of coaches and players and things like that than the average fan does. And the fact that Brian Callahan is even talking about when Teron Davenport, who I believe asked that question, calls that an uncharacteristic moment for Brian Callahan. And Callahan continues to say kind of go back to Teron and say, well, you guys don't get to see me all day, every day. Even when basically for the last 5 or 6 days, we're seeing a good amount of him. Like the idea that isn't who Brian Callahan maybe is behind closed doors in that in Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park, like I think is an element that we don't maybe think about too often, right? Like we still, as sports media people that are out there for a majority of our time, still don't get to see every side of Brian Callahan. And I think that's an important part, right? Like there's just not knowing if that's a uncharacteristic blow up or if that is the intensity he is bringing in the meeting rooms and things like that. We just don't know. And those are things that we have to ask questions to players about, who continue to, despite the consensus that maybe Brian Callahan is not bringing enough energy or things like that, the players continue to kind of battle that idea and say, no, Brian Callahan is bringing a lot of urgency and a lot of intensity to these practices in the meeting room and things. So that's the thing that really stood out to me, is that, I think we still, the perception of Brian Callahan, and if the argument of Brian Callahan being fired is that he's not bringing enough energy, or, he has to raise to that level in a bad practice, I think that's a moot point, because that just, we don't get to see him at every single day or every single second of every day.
Yeah, for sure. And then you just see this comment, Ed Champ. The coach needs to be fired and Amy needs to sell the team. Okay, all right. Yeah, that's just screams fan who is just not ever going to have, their expectations met. Amy's never going to sell a team. Newsflash, she's not. It took how many decades for the NFL to force Daniel Snyder to sell the Washington football team, and all the crap that went through with that bad culture? And you think Amy's never going to sell the team. It makes zero sense. So you can get over that. So I want to go to a comment from Malachi, a couple comments. Malachi said, I don't know what Malachi said no to, but I think if you take out the no, then I agree with this comment. I don't know what he's responding no to. Practice to win. Golfers don't go play before a tournament to score low in practice. They put themselves in spots that might happen to learn how to get out of it. You never practice easy, practice hard spots so you know how to succeed. That's what the Titans are doing. And to the people that don't understand that are calling Brian Callahan a bad coach because they're having bad practices, because they've just turned the knob up to as high as possible. And I think, I don't know if you did this, JT, but Daniel Caribbean had this comment. Hugh Freeze, Auburn's coach, said he told the defense to take it easy on his QB in practice to build his confidence. Coddling doesn't win when the season starts. And that's the case, is that Hugh Freeze says that he wants his quarterback to be confident every time he leaves the practice field. But, he kind of said what Daniel Caribbean said there too. And it's just not a good comment there. So, Amnesia had this comment too. Defense is told what the play is before they start. Defense is always given the edge to make it harder on the offense. Anyone who's ever played football knows this. Now, the defense doesn't know what the play is. No, that's not how it works in the NFL. That's how it works maybe in some high school stuff. I don't know. But the defense does not know what the play is. The defense knows what their agenda is, and their agenda is to bluff it or bring it, right? Or bring it or bluff it, whichever one. But it was made very difficult on purpose. So let's see. Any thoughts? We'll let you jump in here before I just keep on moving.
Yeah, I mean, you practice to win, but to win in these practices, if you're Cam Ward and Brian Callahan's offense, it's like, to go back to that golf analogy, it would be like you're going to a golf tournament and you're playing in a sand trap every single swing, is what basically Brian Callahan and this offense are doing, right? So again, it's hard. You can practice to win, and I think they are. But when you have such an uphill battle on every single snap and every single rep because of what they're throwing at Cam Ward, it certainly does put it into a little bit of a different perspective, I think, in my opinion.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Okay. Let's get to this. We will discuss. I'm going to let the poll continue to mature a little bit, but we're going to talk now about what's not going to get Brian Callahan fired this season. There are a couple things that will be popular answers when we ask the other question later, which is what will get him fired. But there's some things that will not get Brian Callahan fired this season. We'll discuss that here in a moment. But first, I'll tell you guys about our friends at Barton Drury Insurance Group, customized solutions for all of your insurance needs. They are local to the mid-state area. They are big sports fans, and they're insurance experts because they can help you, whether it's you as in your business, if you're a business owner, if you're an employer, and you're looking for that employee benefits plan, the workers' comp situation you need to have, because that's a legality by the state for you to make sure you have the correct workers' comp plan, regardless of what your business is. Or maybe it's just you and your family trying to go out there and make sure you're protected in the best ways. Home, auto, boat, rental, umbrella, the surety bonds for your strategic plays as well, 401k planning to continue to be strategic. The Barton Drury Insurance Group has all what you need, and they have the experts to walk you through it, because we don't live in that world, right? We all are pros in something else besides insurance. They are pros in insurance. So let them help you out so you make sure you're covered there. And check them out online, bartondrury.com.
Before we continue this conversation, a couple things that we need from you guys. We'll get to your super chats, of course. Amnesia, I think this one is going to be very important in this conversation. But I need you guys to follow the wise words of King VZ and lock in, like the show, make sure you're subscribed. And also, while you're over there, might as well give us a 5-star review on Google. Just simply search ATOZ Sports on Google. Leave us a 5-star review. Give us, if you like the show, put it in your review. If you think that the show needs some work and have some constructive criticism to make this show the best it can possibly be for a very important 2025 Titans season, do that as well. But most importantly, like the show, like he says, lock in, like the show if you joined us early. And I do think his comment is to wrap up that before we get to what's going to happen. If the offense had a bad day, like he said, and he didn't do anything, I think we'd be judging him more. But now that he's bringing the heat, we are mad. He appreciates Brian Callahan for having fire about his offense. I agree. But I do think that point is also very relevant. Like, if it was, in fact, a bad practice like that, and Brian Callahan brought them together and they, huddled up and then they just walked off again, like they do sometimes normally during the week. Like, I think I'd have more of a problem with that than what he did.
Right. For sure. Yeah. Like I had a problem last year when Jeffrey Simmons got into a fight that involved a pileup of like the 7 most expensive players in the roster, and Brian Callahan didn't kick him out of practice. I had a problem with that. I had not a problem with Brian Callahan cussing out the team and the offense in particular because they were awful on Sunday in a very difficult spot. Like, they were facing, the most difficult conversion opportunities and game situations they possibly could have there too. So anything else? What? Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, like, and it wasn't all on Brian Callahan and Cam. Like, there were some, I think the frustration was also coming from guys like Calvin Ridley, your top receiver, dropping balls that were right in his hands, like wide open, to make that period a lot easier than it should have been. Like, that, there's so many things going on that Brian Callahan had to be frustrated with. And it's not all on him or it's all on Cam. Like, there were a lot of guys not doing what they were supposed to be doing out there.
100%. So what won't get Brian Callahan fired? That is where we're going to start, because we're going to ask the question, and JT and I will give our answers on what will get him fired later in the show. But what's not going to get him fired? JT, do you want to start?
Yeah, I can definitely start with this. What's not going to get Brian Callahan fired, I think, in my opinion, is, and this might be controversial, but like, if out the gate in the first 3 games, right? If Cam Ward just does not looks horrendous, like, I don't think that gets Brian Callahan fired, like, or even into the midpoint of the season. Like, if Cam Ward does not look like even an average level quarterback at best to go through half the season, I don't think that gets Brian Callahan fired, because I think, once again, and I think Jeremy Fowler had a great way of putting this in his article when he was at Titans training camp, certainly Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker aren't counting wins or losses in this training camp. As he says right here, they're evading any win total goals in conversations, but General Mike Borgonzi knows exactly what he wants to see from a play style standpoint. He's not into big expectations. He wants to see growth. Borgonzi said, I want to see competition and discipline and start to come together as a team. The question is, are we getting better? That's what he wants to see. I think that's exactly what you want to see from Brian Callahan. If Cam Ward really struggles in the first 6 or 7 games of the season, I don't think that gets him fired, because I think, once again, we have to go back to our conversations early on in this draft process and throughout this entirety of this process. Like, Cam Ward is not a finished product. He's not going to be a finished product when they step on the field in Denver in week 1. He's not going to be a finished product at the end of this season. So I think that's if you think that Brian Callahan is, like, his success or failure is directly tied to how Cam Ward looks this season, like, I think that's the wrong way to be looking at it.
I also think what's not going to get him fired is a win-loss record on its own.
I think so too. Yep.
Now, I mean, I'll ask you this. Is there a win-loss record that is going to get Brian Callahan fired by itself? Like, it's straight up because of wins and losses. Like 1-16.
Yeah, I mean,
But
I
if
think
I
it
told
would have to be
but if I told you it was 1-16, but Cam Ward got hurt in week 5,
no,
and they had the one win before he got hurt, and like, is that going to get Brian Callahan fired?
Yeah, that's the question I posed a couple weeks ago when Will Levis, kind of quit and opted to get surgery. It's like, if Cam Ward goes down early in the season and you're back up, I was like, you're going to be in real trouble if Brandon Allen and Tim Boyle has to play games. And don't be surprised, because of how this team operates, that Callahan gets fired for that. And I remember saying that to Easton, and he's like, they would be crazy to do that if Tim Boyle or Brandon Allen are playing long periods of this season as the starting quarterback for this team, because it doesn't seem like they have any interest in looking to upgrade that backup quarterback position. Like, if he gets fired because of what Tim Boyle or Brandon Allen are doing out on the field for a elongated portion of the season, that's where we start talking about the incompetence once again of the front office and the ownership group and whatnot. But if Cam Ward doesn't play the whole season, and even if he does play the whole season, like, I would say, like, that where you really would start to have this conversation for me, I don't think it's a conversation at all until
my point is there's like, I want you to put a pin in where you're going, because I want to make sure we have a clarity thing here.
Yeah.
Montreal says 4-13 will get him fired. JR says 4-13 will get him fired. Vols, 3 wins or less minus injuries will get him fired. Montreal just says regardless of injuries. So I don't think you can say a record will get him fired. I think it has to be a parlay, right? We talk about bets all the time. We're about to get into that a lot here coming up, but like, it's a bad record and 1 or 2 other things. It's gonna be a parlay of 2 or 3 legs with a bad record that will lead to Brian Callahan getting fired. It's not just wins or loss basis. So now I'll let you continue where you're going.
Yeah, I was gonna say, to wrap up the wins or losses thing, like, I would not even consider a conversation about firing Brian Callahan based on the record until maybe they're 0-6 and they play New England, because then there are other factors that come into the picture, and then you have to have that conversation because of the implications of that next game and things like that.
But I don't think it should, like that.
No, it absolutely. I don't think you're wrong. But we'll be having the conversation.
Yeah. No, you're right to say it, because it's the reality, which is what we're talking about. The reality of the hot seat here is that week 7 Patriots game means way more than it should.
Yes, absolutely.
It should not create an emotional reaction from the perch, but it likely will. So yeah. Again, I think it's so Vol says 3 wins or less. Just about every other aspect of your parlay are probably true. 3 wins or less, everything else goes wrong. Again, like, the whole thing is, we have to look at what happened with Brian Callahan the last time he was a part of a team that drafted a quarterback number 1. The Bengals were really, really bad. Joe Burrow was good. Then he had his leg snapped in half in Washington, and they sucked from after that. Then they went and got Jamar Chase with the 5th overall pick because they were bad, and they went to the Super Bowl, and they started to put things together. And so, like, you have to make sure you're not just avoiding or just you have to let things play out a little bit. Like, you can't just be so quick to pull the trigger. So what's not going to get him fired is a win-loss record by itself. There's got to be other things to go into it. And how real are those other things? We just have no idea. We got to let it play out. And I think I think there's a low probability of Callahan getting fired mid-season too.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. And to just make sure we get to this comment, because I think it's relevant, you talk about him being in this position before, with being on a team that even into the second season drafted Joe Burrow, and they had a very up and down season with him going down halfway to injury, which I forget which Allen it was, because I think both Allens ended up playing for the Bengals at some point in Callahan's tenure. But when Joe Burrow went down, I believe it was Brandon Allen that came in and finished the season. It's either him or Kyle Allen. They both played for Brian Callahan at some point, so I mixed those up. But yeah, they are definitely in a similar position. And I think Amnesia, his super chat, is very important here. to get to. He says, if you're out on Brian Callahan, then you clearly didn't watch Levis ruin this team throughout the season last year. Can't blame Callahan. He deserves a second chance. I think he deserves a fresh start with someone that he picked, because obviously the I can fix him mentality, we do not have to continue to repeat that, did not work. And I think this is you can kind of, and I don't want to, say that this is the end all be all, but you can kind of think of this as a do-over and a restarting of Brian Callahan's tenure in a way, because you bring in Mike Borgonzi. If Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker were on board with Brian Callahan coming back, I think that locks their track and their future together in some ways. And when you talk about what Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker have said all along and how they want to be patient throughout the ups and downs here, there's no reality, like you said, where I think he gets fired midseason because of poor performance from Cam Ward, from the team, from any of that on the field.
Right. And so Chase Jones says Will Levis was the problem, not Callahan. I mean, there's so many times that you can go back and look at the mistakes that were made by Will Levis, and they were just straight up bad quarterback decisions. And there's also so many times there were missed touchdowns because Will Levis was not able to process the correct move. I think there was a lot more sacks taken by Will Levis than were actually out there given up by the O-line, because you look at the differential in sacks taken by Will Levis and Mason Rudolph, very, very different overall. So I do want to get to this. The irony of the Joe Burrow rookie year, Brandon Allen was the backup.
Was he?
Who started
That's
5
what I thought.
games. Yeah, right there. Started 5 games. So he's here. Hopefully that means better things for Cam Ward's health down the road there too. So let's see. Here's Ken says, here's a good parlay. If you're picking first again and there's a coach that you like more, I mean, who's the coach you like more?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. Available. Like that's said. Like again, you're picking first. That's kind of a win-loss record thing. Yeah. I think if you still have Cam Ward, unless Cam Ward's just an unmitigated disaster. I don't know. Tomlin? No, I don't want Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin's a great coach for Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh's been in purgatory for so many years because of Mike Tomlin.
Yeah. Get ready to learn 8 and 9 every single season.
John Gruden. Yeah, that's not going to happen either. Good Lord. Okay, so let's ask this question, because now we're about to get interesting. So what has to happen this season for Brian Callahan to get fired? Pretty simply. What has to happen this season for Brian Callahan to actually lose his job? This is the conversation that a lot of you guys want to have because you've been calling for it. Ironically, the YouTube poll only has 12%, 11% now of the audience out on Brian Callahan. I think there's some people that are lying. Yes.
I'm looking at this chat. I mean, I'm looking at the chat from Facebook, and maybe that's what it is, because the YouTube poll is on YouTube, and there's a lot of Facebook people who are simply out on Brian Callahan here. And maybe that's the difference here. But for the entire poll to have 11% in the comments that we see here in the comment section, there's some lying going on, or at least some taking back of the opinion.
Yes. I agree. So what has to happen for Brian Callahan to lose his job this season for the Titans? So we'll get to your opinions on that, and a couple open-ended questions today. We'll get to ours as well. But the Bone and Joint Institute is where you should turn when an injury happens in life. Make sure you know who you can trust to get yourself off of the injury sidelines, out of the training room, and onto the playing field of life, because injuries as adults, they're just massive injuries. They get away your family life, your social life, your job sometimes, just how you feel when you wake up in the morning, how you feel when you go to bed at night. So make sure if you have an old ailing injury, or maybe it's a new injury from playing the beer league softball or whatever it is, pick up hoops with your buddies or whatever it might be. Injuries do happen in life, just like in football, but the Bone and Joint Institute can be there for you as the experts, and the whole team can help you get back to living the healthy life, pain-free, whether it's a surgery you need, hopefully not, or whether it's physical therapy or really just education about how you can do some home physical therapy things to help that chronic ailing thing that you may have with your body. They've done that with me with my knee. Got some things I got to do. I'm learning how to take care of my knee. Eccentric movements, the way to go. 2 thumbs up on eccentric movements. JT, young man, you'll learn that soon enough. Eccentric movements is the way to go. But the Bone and Joint Institute can help you out with that. boneandjointtn.org.
Yeah, good to see you guys in here. Great conversation it looks like we're going to have because there's a lot of answers. But before we get to those, need you guys to do us a couple quick things. First of all, make sure you are liking the show. It goes a lot farther of a way for us than it does for you. Simply just scroll down real quick, hit that like button, give us a thumbs up. And while you're down there, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. And then if you feel so inclined, we do appreciate if you would leave us a 5-star review over on Google. Simply search A to Z Sports over on Google, ATOZ Sports. Leave us a 5-star review. Give us, your thoughts on the show, whether they be positive or constructive in criticism. We want to bring the best show possible to you guys this 2025 season. Criticism is a gift. Just make sure you are leaving a 5-star review for us there, and we can get into some of these comments. There's a lot of different ones. A lot of them, once again, even though we just talked about record will not get Brian Callahan fired, a lot of them have to do with record.
I knew it. That's why we did it in the order we did it. Because
Yes.
I prefaced a record by itself will not do it, knowing that people were going to answer with record. So what do they say?
Yeah, we got Russell here saying 1-5 start or 2-4 start and a beat down from Vrabel's Patriots. Once again, that's the caveat, right? Like I said, I'm not going to. It
would be so dumb to fire Brian Callahan mid-season.
Yes, for Cam Ward's sake.
Yes. Okay, so let's circle back. There was a time where a Titans head coach was fired mid-season with a rookie quarterback top pick, right? Marcus Mariota was a rookie. Ken Whisenhunt got fired mid-season. I want to say after like 8 games, I think they were either 1-7 or 1-8 when Whisenhunt got fired. Then they went and won in New Orleans with Malarkey as an interim. The reason why Ken Whisenhunt got fired mid-season with a rookie quarterback, one, he did not believe in chipping bad tackle play to protect quarterbacks. That was like a philosophy that he just wouldn't do it. It was like 4 wide sets, no help from the tackles, and Mario was getting killed, right? And he kept getting hurt. So they weren't protecting him. And number 2, Ken is an asshole. I don't know. Well, he was. I don't know if he is now. He was an asshole. Nobody in the building liked him. He was awful to deal with. Terrible. And that's from team employees, not me. So Wiz was a bad guy to work with. Brian Callahan's not a bad guy to work with. And Brian Callahan also believes in helping tackles protect quarterbacks. So there are 2 boxes that Callahan checks that Wiz did not. So it would be so dumb to fire Brian Callahan mid-season because who's stepping in? Who's the interim head coach?
Certainly a lot of people in the chat believe Denard Wilson would be the obvious fit, which someone in the chat said the infatuation with Denard Wilson potentially being the next head coach or the interim head coach if Brian Callahan would get fired. Y'all need to pump the brakes on that one. I know we talked about him, at least I did, as a potential like down the road, maybe getting picked up by a different team or so, like as a potential head coaching candidate. But there is no reality, in my opinion, where Denard Wilson it can be a head coach and still be a defensive mind. I think
John
that's
Bones Fossil. No, I don't think he's an interim head coach either.
Like the funniest one though, and the one that makes the most sense, and it's like it would be awful, is that they would have to fire Brian, and the most ready and fit to be an interim is his dad.
Yes,
Bill.
Yeah.
You fire his son to put him as the interim head coach. Like that is
Yeah.
the guy who would have the most experience and be able to.
It's not Nick Holtz.
No.
It's not Bill Hardigree. It's not the tight end coach. Malarkey was a tight end. It could be like Mike McCoy, who just joined who's got some head coaching experience, but he just got here. It would be so stupid to fire Brian Callahan mid-season for anything that happens on the field. So
yeah.
I'll let you keep going through these.
Yeah, we can get to some of these other ones. I do agree that once again, just to finish up on Russell, the conversation starts at regardless of record, the conversation will ultimately start at the Patriots game and what happens, because of course it has to. Eric,
it shouldn't, but it will.
Will.
I think yes.
Yes. Eric says Callahan not being able to develop Cam Ward. I think that needs some more context though. When we talk about, I think this is a very open-ended term that everyone continues to talk about. What about Cam Ward not being developed? Like, what do you need to see from Cam Ward? Is your definition of development like not as many turnover-worthy plays? Is it getting the scoring? Like, is the development of Cam Ward meaning that your offense is scoring more than the 17, 18 points that they did the last 2 seasons? Is that your definition? Is the development of Cam Ward becoming a superstar overnight? Because those things are not going to happen this season. Like, that's just not feasible in my opinion. So I think that one needs a little bit more clarification in my opinion. I do agree. Like, their development needs to happen and growth needs to happen. But I guess like if he's throwing 3 to 4 interceptions every single game and they're picking and pulling him out like a Justin Fields situation in Chicago where Brandon Allen's playing a game or Cam Ward's playing a game, like I guess that could be where you're looking at not developing Cam Ward. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
No, I mean, I think it's just it's hard to say reasons before they are here, right?
Exactly.
Like
Chase Jones says, I think if Cam is struggling by week 8 or 9 and the Titans as a whole, I think they will fire Callahan. Corey, with once again a wild one, says when we start 0-3, Callahan will be gone. It's a bold take considering you're playing 2 of the arguably best defenses right off the bat.
If that happens, then the Titans front office and ownership are the biggest hypocrites in the league.
Correct. I think that's season long. In my opinion. Darren says if this team is called soft again, he'd fire him. Interesting one. Darius says turnovers and the offense looks bad. Like I do think that they're once again Brian Callahan's success or failure. I think this season you need to see improvement from last year. Where did Brian Callahan not look the best as a first-year head coach? I think there's a couple things very easily. The penalties and the clock management mistakes are 2 things that need to improve from the get-go. I think those are 2 things you can point to immediately for Brian Callahan to say, like, to see some growth as a second-year head coach. Yes, those are things you can put on him. I think also when offense looks bad, I think you can also put the red zone efficiency on him as well. I think that's something else that you can absolutely put on Brian Callahan. The red zone has to get better. And I know Will Levis was a lot of that sometimes. There were a lot of misreads by Will Levis in a lot of games in the red zone, but like more efficiency in the red zone, I think absolutely should be something that you can learn growth from in this season. I think Darren also touches on that, says if the scheme is terrible, he'd fire him. Yep. Zach says Cam Ward looks bad. Titans only win 3 games. Team looks disorganized and undisciplined week in and week out. Orlando says in order, lose the Patriots game, less than 3 wins, and the offense is worse than last year. I think that's also a good benchmark, 18 points a game. I think that's a fair benchmark. Ira Hoshi
I like the fact that there's a parlay.
Yeah, right? Putting all of them together here
yes.
in order. Patriots game, less than 3 wins, and the offense is worse. Ira Hoshi says bad play calling leading to a bunch of losses. Amnesia says blowouts will get Brian Callahan fired. Going 3-14 again, but not being blown out is a huge step forward. Losing games by 1 touchdown or less guarantees his job. I think situational game script is very important there. Kenneth thinks 2 or less wins by week 10 will get Brian Callahan fired. Darren says if they only win 1 or 2 games, I'd seriously consider firing him. It's again less than 5 wins and not seeing Cam Ward progress throughout the year. Sean saying if I assume this means if Cam Ward is dumpster juice, or maybe that's just him saying flat out he thinks Cam Ward is dumpster juice.
I think that was an if, because then he had and if the 2nd and 3rd round picks don't pan out, right?
Fair enough. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's see. There's so many more. Those are just a couple of the first ones. Any of those?
Yeah.
Kind of point out to you or stick out to you?
This Bearded Tuna says they didn't fire Todd Downing after his DUI, so I doubt they fired Callie for on-field issues. So I think Bearded Kuna, you're missing some things there. The reason I think, and I said this at the time, that Todd Downing maybe had a better chance of being fired because of being a bad offensive coordinator if he didn't have the DUI. The fact is, the DUI happened on the team plane on the way home from a game where that's not supposed to happen. Like the drinking happened on the team plane that led to the DUI from the team facility. There were legality reasons that they didn't fire him until after the season when they could say it was because of performance. So that's just want to say that real quick. So I look at, I agree with Jason. Firing Callahan sets the Titans back another 5 years and wastes a number one quarterback. I mean, I don't know if I would go that insane or that dramatic, but it does set the Titans back. 5 years, I don't know. I don't think you're guaranteed to waste Cam. I think you're setting yourself up to waste him at a higher rate if you fire Callahan after this year. But my answer is actually, it has to do with Cam Ward. So if I'm going to follow my own rules and create a parlay for Brian Callahan's hypothetical firing, it has to be, I'll say Cam Ward is not good, like just not good at all. Not efficient, more turnovers than touchdowns scored, whether that's interceptions and fumbles. He's just struggle city out there the majority of the season. And this team has a massive discipline issue with penalties. Pre-snap penalties, in-snap penalties, all these sins, the self-inflicted negatives that they've been talking about all offseason. If they have a high rate of those, then okay. And they win like 4 or less games. They win more. They win 4 games or less with so many bad penalty situations that are bad discipline, and Cam Ward is just a disaster. I think that's when Brian Callahan is gone. And honestly, I think the most important of those 3 for me is the rest of the team.
Yeah.
I'm going to give grace to Cam Ward and the win-loss record this season. What I'm not going to give as much grace to are the dumb stuff that hurts the football team, that they spent 5 months very intentionally trying to iron out of their character. And if that pops back up and is a problem, then that's where I think, okay, it's not going to happen because you can't get the rest of the team on board.
Absolutely. I think, and I kind of, throughout that entire exercise, as people were leaving comments, I kind of gave away some of mine. But yes, that if I were to make a parlay, that's one. Like, the penalties need to change. I think that was even last year. I mean, it killed so many drives before they even started last year, especially on the offensive line. So that's an important one. I think also, too, a lot of those things that you said about Cam, I think could be yes, Cam needs to have – Cam just does not need to look like a dumpster fire, or to quote the comments, dumpster juice. Like, he needs to not look like that. I think he also, for Brian Callahan, I think a good benchmark as well is more than 18 points per game on average for your offense is a good way not to get fired. And then you said, like, wins, like that also helps. I think if you win more than 5 games, if you win 5 or 6 games, you're pretty solid. Like, I think you're smooth sailing because, listen, if Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker were going to give that type of answer to, do you think your team today can win a Super Bowl? Like, that was a reaction of, this is a team that has about 5, 6, 7 wins in the tank right now before getting into games. So, like, if you get that, I think you're smooth sailing.
Yeah. But in reality, I agree with that too. In reality, Brian Callahan should not be fired after the season. Like, it would go against everything that everybody in a leadership position has said in the franchise. Chad Brinker, Mike Borgonzi, Brian Callahan, Amy Adams-Strunks via statement, Burke Nihill, all of these things. They know that they are in the before and after pictures, right? Like, you all see, and hopefully it's not the before and after picture, the guy that just like sucked in his gut, but still nothing changed. You know, the viral thing. Like, it's there in the before. The
Alex Jones picture with him
trying
exactly. Medicines.
Yeah. They're in the before of this transition, and they cannot fire him. Because they did not fire him this past January, I believe they committed to him for 2 more seasons.
You have to.
This season.
That's the messaging.
Then, yes.
And it'll come back. And I think everybody and their mother will have the same idea that if that is not the plan, and if it is a middle of the road season, like we're saying, in points per game improve, penalties improve, you win 5 or 6 games, but he still gets canned. Like if they were like 2-4 and he gets canned after the Patriots game, or they, maybe they're even like 4 and whatever, and they lose the Patriots game, and you're looking at firing Brian Callahan like towards the end of the season, like everybody will be on the same page that it is so hypocritical to think that you built a team that you yourself, and when I say you, I mean Chad Brinker and Mike Borgonzi, still think is a work in progress and is still going to take time to develop into a championship caliber team. Like that is hypocritical to expect more than that for this team.
Yeah, for sure. All right. I think, did we get all of our super chats? I think we did.
I think so. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Good, dude. Good. All right. I think we've talked enough about the hypothetical firing of Brian Callahan that neither of us thinks is actually going to happen. So with that, we can go ahead and get to our sports trivia segment, see how good JT and I can do as we continue to build our trivia bond together.
Boy.
Here we go. Make them a part of your new car buying process. WilsonCountyHyundai.com is where to go. In Lebanon, Payne Bone does a great job of making sure that you save some money on that new ride. WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Okay, JT, I'm about to get the share the screen situation ready. If you are ready to get your part of the show ready, let's see if we can do this smooth or not.
Okay.
And can we do this smooth?
I learned from last week, because Easton also was. I did prematurely. I'm reacting.
Oh gosh, this is ridiculous. Come on. Is it sharing? Why is it not sharing? Share screen. Come on. Oh, browser can't access. What changed? What changed from 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, Bork says ready to judge JT. Nick, is this JT's first trivia? It's not. I have 2 reps with trivia. So much so, apparently, like either I'm really good at trivia or people just want to be harsh, because I read the comments after our Thursday show last week, and someone accused me and Easton of cheating last week, which I think is very, very funny, considering like I just have a general basis of pop culture, and so much so they're like, you're on your phone. Here's what I'm gonna do, guys. You see my phone? It's my phone. There you go. It's gone. Now no one can accuse me of cheating. That was wild.
All right, I'm gonna try to share a different browser.
Okay.
Let's see if this works. Oh, is it gonna work? Come on.
Good?
Come on.
I can.
Here we go.
I thought I saw something.
I'm getting screwed by my browser jumping. This is making me so mad. I hate when technology does dumb stuff.
Yes. Oh, I see it, I think. There we go.
Okay.
I think we're good.
So mad.
Do we have an over-under today? I know that part at least.
Orlando should have it in the chat.
We'll see.
Oh, 3.5 minutes.
3.5 minutes. Okay, got it.
All right, here we go. Start with the NFL. 11-time Pro Bowler Trent Williams began his career with this NFC franchise.
It's not the 49ers. That's where he was last.
Washington, right?
Yeah, I think he was a commander, or the formerly known as a commander.
Yes. Geography. Residing in the city of Bloomington, the Mall of America is in Minnesota.
Minnesota, yep.
Television. From 2002 to 2005, this MTV reality show followed the domestic life of a heavy metal singer. What was the show called? The Osbournes?
I think so. Rest in peace. Rest in peace.
I think it was just the Osbournes. Okay. Who voiced Ebenezer Scrooge in the '09 animated adaptation of A Christmas Carol? I do not know who voiced Scrooge.
I have no idea. Haven't they made like 8 of these in the last 10 years or so? Why do I want to say like Alec Baldwin.
Somebody famous like that? Jim Carrey? People are saying Jim Carrey?
A lot of people think Jim Carrey, which I think is crazy.
Okay. Hey, that's correct. Music.
Okay.
Formed in the show X Factor in 2012. This girl group consisted of singers Camila Cabello, Normani. I don't know any of these people's names. Who is this girl group?
Camila Cabello and Normani. I know those two at least. I think it's come on. I did a lot of music in high school. I should know this. It's like 5 something, like 5th
2012
something.
Destiny
Child.
Oh, get out of here.
Cat
Dolls? No, that's not.
Fifth.
That's so new. 2012?
Bork's got
Fifth Harmony?
Fifth Harmony. Yeah, that's it. Yes. I knew it's like 5th. I think it's like you spell it out. Like that's yes, good call. I knew it started with 5th. I had no idea what the end was.
Favorite blasted colors, megabytes, or varieties of this chip or cracker. Flavor blasted colors and megabyte. Doritos? I think it's Doritos.
You think so? Let's consult the chat here. I think Doritos. We'll see if anybody else.
Oh, wrong. Doritos. From 87 to 04, Mark Jackson total over 3,000 assists for 2 different franchises, New York and this Eastern Conference team. I believe this is.
I've got no idea. And of course, everybody in the chat here is saying Goldfish, so they got us.
It is Goldfish.
So I think that's right.
Mega Blast. I thought Mega Blast was going to be.
I did too. I thought Mega Blast was like Doritos.
The chat is definitely way behind today.
I know. That's why I'm trying to give them grace. You knew that one? I have no idea on basketball.
This is Derek Carr.
Fresno State quarterback. Hey, I know that one. Yeah, Derek Carr. It was like Fresno State quarterback. There can only be one Fresno State quarterback. Ooh, okay.
Joe. Outside is Joe. What's his name? Right? The Aquaman Joe. Right?
Jason Momoa.
Jason, is it Jason? No, never mind. It's Joe, not Jason Momoa. It's Joe something.
I know the middle because this is very relevant to me. Because me and I'm showing my girlfriend Stranger Things for the first time. I saw that face like in 4 episodes last night. That's Millie Bobby Brown. It has to be.
Say who?
Millie Bobby Brown. Justin says Billy Brown.
Millie Bobby Brown. It's Joe something. Joe.
I got no idea.
Joe Mang something. Yes, that's him.
Joe Mang.
Use a double dip, snacks and candy. We got.
I think we go with Goldfish. Goldfish.
My computer's glitching on me today, which is part of the problem.
Hey,
so 4.5 minutes.
I'll take it.
So it was 4.5 minutes, and that's with me fighting upstream with my computer
the stream
being slow.
And the chat. Nick said we should have waited. We could have had a perfect board.
I know the chat was so slow. I felt good about Doritos though.
I did too, but I will say, like, I'm glad I could. I feel like the celebrity mashups are my the one I will always be the worst at. But like I watched like 4 episodes of Stranger Things. That was almost instantly.
Yeah. In the Fed, Chicago says, try turning it off and back on. Yeah, my computer's working way too hard than it needs to right now. If you could hear it, it's like so out of breath.
The fan is turning.
Yes, absolutely. All right, guys, that is it for us on this Wednesday. Tomorrow means Thursday. That we'll have some reaction to today's practice. It's ongoing right now. So Easton will have a report there. So make sure you hit that like button, like the show. That's the easiest thing you guys can do for us. That goes a long way. So make sure you please hit that like button on Facebook and on YouTube. And we'll catch you guys later on. Appreciate it as always.